What's up, fight fans? This is Kurt DeVille with Counterpunch Boxing News, and I have some new news concerning Tyson, the Gypsy King Fury. Tyson Fury states after the silent press conference, he has said that he's absolutely lost 100% respect for Deontay Wilder. And he explains why. He explains because of the silence, because of all the accusations, the things he said about Mark Breland, the lack of integrity that he had, the ramble and scramble for the justification on why he lost. He called me a cheat. He called me this and he called me that. But then when he saw me face to face, he didn't do anything but stare at me with some type of false, fierce gaze. Wow. Let me counterpunch. The strategy for Deontay Wilder was probably to remain silent. I like to give people the benefit of the doubt to a certain degree. And the only reason I'm doing that is because I've seen it from Deontay Wilder before. I remember the second Stavern, I'm getting like Mike Tyson, Bermain-Stavern fight. Bermain said a lot of things what he was going to do. He said he was going to catch a case in the ring, meaning he said he wanted to kill Wilder in a sense, and Wilder stayed calm, cool, and collect. And he didn't have a lot of words to say. And I think that night we found out why he stayed so quiet. We found that out because he knocked him out in the first round. He knocked out Stavern in the first round. And it didn't take a lot. He was just like, hey, you ready? And Wilder just stood there like, like a bad man in the movie or something like that, or an anti-hero. Because the way he stood there and he looked at Bermain and then, he just went upside his head and knocked him out. So that may be a reason why he's doing that. He may be trying to implement that same type of energy because he's an energy person. So that may be the case. But let me counterpunch. The problem I did have with it is this is more than just trash talk. This is more than just promoting a fight. This is more than just, hey, it's a third fight and we're going to do it again, right? This is more than that. This is supposed to be bigger than that because over a year now, we've had this heavy debate and heavy accusations that Tyson Fury had some stuff in his gloves, that he was on the juice. He had some stuff in his gloves. His Wilder's trainer spiked the water. The referee was against him. The Nevada State Athletic Commission was against him. And if he wasn't on drugs then, he was on drugs 5 years ago since, so we know he's a drug cheat. A lot of things were said about Tyson Fury that weren't said before the second fight. They weren't said. They weren't brought up. Especially the things about Martin Carefoot and the nandrolone and all this stuff in the boar meat and these things. Those type of things came up after Wilder lost. And then, my thing is, if you have half a brain, you can understand none of this stuff came up in between those fights. Wilder didn't call Fury a cheat for taking the nandrolone before he fought him for the second time. That only happened after he lost. So, I mean, if you're a person with half a brain, you should see, okay, well, that's just you bitter about getting beat by Tyson Fury. They were looking for drug tests. They were looking for tests to come back inconclusive or positive for something that Tyson Fury was taking and that gave him that type of energy or power, that night and that night only, since Tyson Fury is a pillow puncher. A lot of those things were brought up that night and after that fight that they weren't brought up in between, but nonetheless, they should have been. So at the end of the day, they weren't consistent, but nonetheless, they were brought up. I mean, all of that. I mean, there's more stuff. I mean, even the costume and stuff like that, but that doesn't really affect Fury now, does it? But the things that Wilder said about Fury were criminal. They weren't, hey, I don't like this guy, he didn't really beat me. I had a bad night. No. This was things you said this man did, and he used certain channels to promote that idea, that narrative, right? And they went as far as, which was wrong, but they went as far as to associate like previous cheats, previous known cheats, like Antonio Margarito when how he did Cotto, how he attempted to do Sugar Shane Mosley, Louis Resto, Panama Lewis on, the trainer fighter that they took gloves out of the padding for Billy Collins. They even compared him to those particular situations where there was nothing like that. They wanted it to be. They begged it to be. But then it was a slick way of associating some known cheats with someone that you're accusing of cheating. That, and then if you associate something long enough, you start to mentally, okay, yeah, that's right. He cheated like Antonio Margarito and Louis Resto. Resto and Margarito, then Fury. You know what I mean? So those type of things, and they came and they dropped all these type of possibilities, by association that could have happened in that fight rather than what they actually proved. We said all that to say this. When Deontay Wilder was there, and Deontay Wilder had an opportunity to speak, he did not. He did not speak about that. He did not say anything about that. He said a few words. He put his headphones on. He had his glasses on, and he sat down, and he kind of stayed mute. Malik Scott did most of the talking, and Tyson Fury ran the show. After that, but here's the thing: the 6-minute stare down. That was the longest stare down probably in history. But I know it was, and I know what Wilder said, like, hey, let's talk more action. But then you wait, okay, and this is the problem. You wait till that conference is over. You have an interview with Ellie Setback. You said, oh, we have no proof. People can say what they want about, oh, well, he wasn't talking about that. He was talking about Povetkin, but you were comparing that to Tyson Fury, though. That's who you were talking about. You were talking about Tyson Fury, and you mentioned Povetkin, and you said, well, at the end of the day, we had no proof, but you said nothing in the press conference. So you want us to believe you can clearly say you had no proof against Povetkin, but you had all the evidence, but you had no proof when another judge was there. And then, that had nothing to do with Tyson Fury. So Tyson Fury after that, well, no, there's more. After that, Deontay Wilder did say, hey, he even cheated to ESPN. Now, he didn't go into specifics or any of that. He said he even cheated. We could have got at least that out of in the press conferences. This man even cheated me to beat me. With the busted eardrum. He had all types of opportunities to bring it up. Malik Scott didn't bring it up. If Malik Scott believed the hype, we never really thought of how Malik Scott felt. I know he rides with Wilder. He's been with Wilder for a long time, so he was there through all this, right? He hasn't spoke on anything concerning the glove gate. It's like the glove gate is the secret narrative that they sometime want to bring to the forefront, and then sometimes they don't. But then the time that they didn't is when Tyson Fury was there. That just seems 100% chicken shit. Now, knowing what we know now, saying all that, giving you guys the rundown, the backstory from the last 2 fights and the trash talk up to now. Press conference is over and interviews have been made. Now Tyson Fury explains, I have lost 100% respect for Deontay Wilder. And my counterpunch, I don't blame him, because I would hate for somebody, because I've had people talk shit about me personally, and then you see them, they say nothing. And the first thing you say is, okay, well, what is this about? Like you said that had all this to say back and forth, but then you see me, you say nothing. You refuse to say nothing. You say something, but it ain't that. But that's the most important part, and that's how I'm going to stick with that. But let me leave you with this, because I do play devil's advocate, right? I would have liked, you know what, I'm going to leave that to a next video, because that's going into a total different topic. But I can see why Tyson Fury would feel that way about Deontay Wilder, because a lot of people expected him to speak about the cheating, about everything that he said, that he already said before and after the press conference while he saw Tyson Fury. But anyway, you guys tell me what you think about Tyson Fury's comments towards Deontay Wilder. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch. Peace.